wouldn't venture too far out of town if I were you. Many Legionnaires did so before you. Very few have returned. Ahu's invention, the stasis blaster. Quite a sight, no? The ray can singe a zombie or skeleton to ash in a matter of seconds.
Oh, where's my pepper? Did it sprout legs and run away?
These days, we Legionnaires hold a lottery to see who gets to man the things. You can bet it's no small amount easier to blast those flesh-eating monstrosities from a distance than to get within striking range. Don't ask me how the blaster works, though. I just make sure the thing's hitting its targets.
Now, where is my pepper? Did it sprout legs and run away? Yeah, it is.
You don't think it's infected, do you?
Come on now, I pulled her off you before she could do any real damage.
Any real damage? Are you joking? I've been mauled. I'll be disfigured for life.
Come on.
Face, Furious. She bit me in the face.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldiers are the most ferocious.
Ugly will be the least of it. The beast looks rabid.
In that case, you'll have the pleasure of putting her down yourself.
I wish for you to try it, Screech Woman.
The beast speaks? So you've half a brain behind that feral maw, have you?
The cretin's question crossed her lips and aped an air of aptitude.
Hey, Tull, I think that was an insult.
Don't pay attention to the beast, Furious. You'll only encourage it. You don't think it's infected, do you?
Come on now, I pulled her off you before she could do any real damage.
Greetings! These stalls are for our Legion troops. Rivelon's finest work up mighty fine appetite, serving the 7.
Don't let that rooster escape! He's already on the menu for tonight! The chicken has the right.
Greetings! These stalls are for our Legion troops. Rivelon's finest work up mighty fine appetite, serving the 7.
Yes, let's pardon him. Just look at the little blighter. He doesn't deserve the knife.
Why did you let my chicken escape? You let my chicken escape? Looks like it's your lucky day, Jack. Now to tell the troops they're getting nothing but the cornbread.
These stalls are for our Legion troops. Rivelon's finest work up mighty fine appetite, serving the 7.
Source Hunter. A sight for sore eyes, if ever there was one. I know you're probably knee-deep in that awful murder investigation, but truth be told, the Legion could use your help as well. We've been conducting a series of expeditions into undead territory, and I'm afraid I must admit they've met with very little success. Lieutenant Selenia, at your service. I'm Captain Aureus' second-in-command, but rest assured I am a lot more kindly inclined towards source hunters than he is. Now, I certainly don't mind a bit of healthy competition and even rivalry between our orders, but I, for one, have no intention of looking a gift horse in the mouth. And that is exactly what your presence in Sicil is, Source Hunter. A gift and a blessing. Only heroes such as yourself can make a true difference in this troubled part of the world. Such is my honest conviction.
Everyone knows the ugly soul.
The undead. I pitied them at first. Many among them were once kind and innocent civilians of Sicil, after all. No longer do I feel that way, though. Too many of my soldiers have fallen. The dead must be put down without mercy, if we can. The bravest among my men and women tell me they are weaker in the west and stronger in the east. So I suggest you head westward if you want to flex your muscles and test the waters before blindly diving to your death. I shall be very glad to share what information I can give you. If ever we want to be victorious in Sicil, we have to track down the root of the undead uprising. Under the Pact of Volunteers, 3 expeditions were launched to do just that. But so far, none of their participants have returned.
The face, Furious. She bit me in the face.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldier.
3 landmarks were chosen for further investigation. The lighthouse, the burial mounds, and the old church. Places fraught with danger all.
The beast speaks. So you've had the brain behind the feral wall, have you?
There's a lighthouse to the west, up on the bluffs, overlooking the sea. No man has gone there in a decade, and yet a light shines from its pinnacle every night. The locals say it's haunted, and half a dozen legionnaires have gone to find out whether or not those are mere tall tales. I fear for their safety. There are ancient burial grounds to be found north of the city. As good a place as any to start looking for necromancers, wouldn't you say? A local archaeologist offered to tag along with the men. Here's hoping his knowledge on the subject may prove to be of use to them. There's a church to the northeast of here, built atop the very place where once stood a temple dedicated to the source. The Sicilians razed it, and built a church for the 7 instead, supposedly to symbolize the victory of the gods over evil sorcery.
So you've had the brain behind the feral wall, have you?
All superstitious mumbo-jumbo, if you ask me. But when the dead rose, that is when they were first spotted. Hence the expedition. So I did. The Pact of Volunteers. Many legionnaires will do whatever it takes to go home, which is why I personally sign their transfer orders the moment they make it back from a mission behind enemy lines. The chances of survival during these sorties are only about 1 in 10, you see. So my soldiers are free to volunteer, and if they are successful, they just bought themselves a boat ride home. Salutations, Source Hunter.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldier.
Ugly will be the least of it. The beast looks rabid.
In that case, you'll have the pleasure of putting her down yourself.
I was going to try and screech one.
The beast speaks. So you've had the brain behind the feral wall, have you?
The cretin's question crossed her lips and ached an air of aptitude.
Hey, no, I think that was an insult.
Don't pay attention to the beast, Furious. You'll only encourage it. You don't think it's infected, do you?
Come on now, I pulled her off you before she could do any real damage.
Any real damage? Are you joking? I've been mauled. I'll be disfigured for life.
Come on with the dramatics. It's not as bad as all that.
The face, Furious. She bit me in the face.
Look on the bright side. Everyone knows the ugly soldiers are the most ferocious.
Ugly will be the least of it. The beast looks rabid.
In that case, you'll have the pleasure of putting her down yourself.
I wish for you to try it, screech woman.
The beast speaks. So you've had the brain behind that feral wall.
Quiet! No talking to these scoundrels, criminal scum!
I'll thank you to take a step in another direction. This is the Legion treasure room, and you've no business bothering with it. Your not-so-sterling reputation happens to precede you.
What have we here, then? A so-called source hunter, eh? Well, look, do what you must in Sicil, but don't make waves and don't interfere with the Legion's affairs, you hear? I'm Captain Aureus, if you must know, leader of the Legion in Sicil, by which I mean I have the enviable task of commanding a battalion of walking dead. For I fear it may well be but a matter of time before the undead undo all my soldiers and turn them into drivelling hordes of their own misshapen number. Gods above! Some politician snuffs it and everyone's in an uproar. Ridiculous! I told that wizard brat of an Ahu not to bother, but he just had to send for source hunters, didn't he? Bloody magicians! They see a pigeon poop and think sorcery's afoot. Nevertheless, I want to be kept in the loop. Understand? I am in command of this town, not Mayor Cecil, not Ahu, and definitely not some hotshot source hunter. So investigate Jake's death if you feel so inclined, but report back to me the moment you discover something out of the ordinary. The scene of the crime is over at the King Crab Inn. You can tell the guard you have my permission to enter. Now off with you! Esmeralda is Jake's wife. Well, widow. Everyone in town, down to the crabs on the beach, is convinced she killed him. Now, the girl has the reputation of being a flirt. There is that. But that doesn't suffice as evidence, wouldn't you say? Or do source hunters rely on hearsay alone, perhaps? That certainly would explain some of the cock-ups you lot have made in the past. What? You're going to stand there and claim with a straight face your order never wrongly tortured and executed anyone? Hardly. But I won't stand for such nonsense. If you bring evidence before me, I'll evaluate it with perfect objectivity. The Legion relies on reason, see? Not idle superstition. If you must. Bravo! Figured that one out, did you? I haven't been stuck here for 2 years because we're being besieged by fluffy kittens, you know. Those brain-feasting freaks out there keep on coming. And it takes all the sword arms and all of Ahu's half-baked contraptions to keep them at bay. Keeping them at bay, that is all we do. Were that I could break their backs once and for all. How am I enjoying it? Are you spoiling for a fight, Hunter? Are you? Sicil stinks of fish, reeks of orcs, and on a good day the wind disperses the stench of decomposing corpses. I can't remember the last time I had a proper piece of steak, and by now I retch at the mere sight of sardines. So in conclusion, I am not enjoying Sicil. We are the pride of Rivellon, to be found and to be seen everywhere. We don't hide in the dark and lurk in corners like some I could mention. No, we protect the civilized from the barbaric, and we do so impeccably. I'd say they are looking for weak spots in our defenses. They can't make an attack over land for fear of Ahu's magical machines, so they're trying their luck by sea. They won't succeed, though. Not against the Legion. Yes, and he also spends most of his time in the guise of a cat, licking God's knows which body parts. Sects, sorcerers. He'll be seeing flying carpets next. You, again. do feel free to depart from Seal at your earliest convenience.
Source Hunter, welcome, welcome. But certainly, what would you like to know? Oh, I am but a wizard, a guardian of man and beast, and indeed I am both. My body, like any other, is bound to temporal decay. But my spirit is a speck of light that shone forth from the eternal sun that is the cosmic soul. My task upon this earth is to protect the heart of nature, the very antithesis of which is the intrigue spun by demons and directors of the dead. Hence my involvement in Seal. You see, my one desire is to witness a world in which every mother looks around her and purrs with calm contentment, for she knows that her chicks or children, her cubs or calves, will grow up without knowing the meaning of menace, the enfeeblement of fear. To my great regret, none of them purr as yet. Oh, but that's not a trick. It's a blessing. Or does it surprise you that I enjoy taking a feline guise? Such magic is a gift, Hunter. To tread upon the realm of instinct, to be out in the night, to stalk, but of course it's handy to speak it. Oh, that'll never happen. Granted, a witch could make the polymorph permanent if she'd enchant me in my cat guise, but I'll just have to be careful around witches, won't I? I'm my own wizard, you know, and I don't intend to become anyone's familiar. By all means. Of course. I hope your investigation fares well. They say a woman arrived in the King Crab Inn. I say it took a while. How and why he came to be there, no one knows. But I had a good look around the scene of the crime before the leak. I hope your quest fares well, dear Hunter. By all means. Of course. I hope you... I can but piece together what few morsels fell from the grapevine into a rather disappointing meal, I'm afraid. They say a woman arrived in the King Crab Inn sometime after midnight. She retired to a room on the ground floor where she was soon joined by a man who had been nursing the same cup of wine for hours. I say man and woman because both of them were cloaked and recognized by none. About an hour later, another figure arrived, headed for the same room. Soon after, a terrible commotion erupted and the thundering light of magic was witnessed by the few remaining patrons. It took a while for the landlord to pluck up the courage to enter the mystery room. When finally he did, he found Jake there, dead. How and why he came to be there, no one knows. but I had a good look around the scene of the crime before the Legion barred anyone from entering. The traces of magic I felt were vile. Source, no doubt. I myself have none, even though the rest of the town has already mentally tried and convicted Jake's wife, Esmeralda. Now, it may well be established that she is in fact the guilty party. I'm not claiming that I'm certain she's innocent, but let's just say that if I really thought this murder case would be so very easily resolved, I wouldn't have sent for source hunters. I can't say much more, but that they're madmen, all the more dangerous to us because of their alliance with what should be a natural enemy. You won't see me teaming up with a terrier in a hurry. And what might those be? Those who are raising the dead dwell among us. They simply must be. But even though I've spent many a night leaping from tree to rooftop, watching on as citizens stagger home from the inn or simply burn the midnight oil, I haven't spied a single soul worthy of true suspicion. The enemy is wily. They know us better than we know them, and they've found ways to avoid both detection and distrust. Yet I am somehow convinced that you may succeed where the Legion and I have failed. Call it instinct. You have a flair for understatements, Hunter. I'm sure they are but a minor nuisance in the eyes of a born warrior. But to the Legion, they are green-skinned death incarnate. Until they conclude what mischief they intend to see through, or, less likely, they are conclusively defeated, we can but bar the gates and hole up like mice while the cats are on the prowl. Oh, a mere trifle for one with the intellect of a feline and the engineering skills of a human. You basically construct a classic ballista, add a 100% legally obtained self-regenerating source of destructive magic to it, and Bobcat's your uncle. But certainly, what would you like to know?